Всем привет! Today we're starting to talk about grammar. And the first topic that I want to introduce you to is the gender of the Russian nouns. This topic is very important for Russian grammar because a lot of words depend on the gender of the nouns. For instance, to say this phone versus this pen, the form of this will depend on the gender of the noun. And phone, telephone, is a masculine noun, and ruchka is a feminine noun. So in Russian, we have three different genders: masculine, feminine, and neutral. And you recognize the word by the form of the word, by the very last letter. Now, there are languages that also have gender, let's say German, where you recognize the gender of the noun by the article that goes with it, like der, die, das. In Russian, we don't have articles, so we really have to look at the form of the default word, and default is how it appears in the dictionary, to know its gender. And as I said, knowing gender is very important. Okay, so our topic today is the gender of the Russian nouns. And in Russian, gender is rod. Now, as I told you before, all nouns in Russian have a specific gender. It's either masculine or feminine or neuter. Now, all of these words will also have plural forms. The plural formation will be the topic of a different video. Just like in English, we have pronouns that signify genders: he, she, it. In Russian, that's он, она, and оно. He, she, it, он, она, оно. You probably hear that I pronounce the sound a here because these letters o are unstressed. We pronounce them as a short a. Он, она, оно. Now, to figure out the gender of the Russian noun, you have to look at the very last letter of the word. For example, we recognize masculine nouns as words that end in a consonant. Now, the word consonant defines a category of Russian letters that are not a vowel or not a sign. Remember, there are three categories of Russian letters. So basically, if you remember which letter of the Russian alphabet is a vowel and which one is a sign, then everything else will be a consonant. So let's review the Russian vowels. There is 10 of them, and I'm going to write them as they appear in the alphabet. A, Е, Ё, И, О, У, Ы, Э, Ю, Я. And then we have two signs, hard sign and soft sign. So if it's not a vowel or a sign, it's going to be a consonant. Now, one of the consonants that we have in Russian looks exactly like the letter E with a small thing on top. And I'm actually going to put this letter, I краткое, into a separate ending right here. It is a consonant, but I'll explain in a second why I had to single it out. Now, there is one more ending that you will need to remember for masculine, and that's soft sign. But I'm going to put an asterisk right next to it, and I'll explain in a second why. Let's move on to feminine, and we recognize feminine nouns as words that end in a or ya or soft sign. Remember how I put an asterisk here? I'm going to put this one here. So in Russian, words that end in soft sign can be in the masculine noun category or in the feminine noun category. And basically for words that end in soft sign, we have to learn which one is which. There is no other way around it. There are some categorizations, but especially at the beginning, I would say learn it by heart. Like if something ends in a soft sign, which gender that is. Okay, let's move on to neutral. And here we have letter O and letter Y. And I'm also going to teach you one more ending. I'm going to put like an asterisk right here because, as I said, we have to look at the one letter to figure out the gender of the noun at the very last letter. But here, the ending actually includes two letters. M, ya, mya. Okay, now let's take a look at some examples. Before we do that, I'm gonna draw a line right here. And consonants other than и краткая, letter A and O, fall into the category that we call hard endings. And then soft sign, и краткая, я, е, are soft endings. This distinction into hard and soft endings is important to remember once we start changing the nouns into plural or into different cases, because the rule of thumb here is hard stays hard unless there are some spelling rules involved, and soft stays soft. And now let's take a look at some examples. So consonant other than in краткая, I'll write the word student, which means a student. And I will also write the word park, which means a park. For и краткая, I'll write the word музей, which means a museum. And I'm gonna write the word cafeteria. It's like a little cafe, usually at a college or university or at a company. Cafeteria. And for the soft sign, I read the word учитель, teacher. It's an important one to know, right? Okay, let's write some examples for feminine nouns. I'll write mama, mom, and книга, which means a book. Examples for я, let's write семья, which means family, and лекция, lecture. For soft sign, let's take the word ночь, which means night, and it's a feminine noun. For neutral, let's write the word письмо, which means a letter that we write. And another word will be блюдо, which means a dish like an actual plate or a dish in a specific cuisine. For ye, this is the word сообщение. And it means a message that we send on social media, in messengers, over the phone. So this is a very common word. Looks scary, but it's a useful word to know. One more word in this category will be сердце, which means heart. And I said I will give you one, or actually a couple of words in the category mya. So if a word ends in mya, it's a neutral word. So examples here are имя and время. Имя means name and время means time. So now you know how to recognize the gender of the Russian nouns. Okay, that's the end of this video. I hope you found it useful. Thank you so much for watching and keep learning Russian, and I will see you in my new videos. Пока-пока.